Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the SizeUp Delaware webinar. We are going to go ahead and get started. I am Andrea Wojcik from the Delaware Division of Small Business. Just a couple of housekeeping items before I turn it over to our director. This is a webinar, which means everyone's microphones are muted. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A instead of the chat. We will answer questions throughout the webinar in the Q&A. And this webinar will be recorded and placed on our website, de.gov/edge, by the end of today. I will make sure to drop that information into the chat so everyone sees it. And at this point, I will turn it over to our director for the Division of Small Business, Regina Mitchell.
Thanks, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're very excited to have this webinar again this round. I think we had a really successful one last round, and we're excited to share some more information about how you can all use the SizeUp tool to help with your Edge application, and then I think just generally to help with your business in general. So excited to be joined this morning by our two SizeUp experts who will be leading the training for you all. So this morning we're joined by Mario Ubalde, who is the Director of Customer Success for SizeUp. Previous to that, he had worked as a Senior Customer Success Manager with Replicon, a leading global time management SaaS company. As a senior member of the team there, he managed top global accounts such as Xerox, leading implementation teams for Pike Energy, the nation's largest specialty construction and engineering firms serving the electric power industry, and SAS Software, the largest privately held software firm in the world. He is an alumnus of UC Berkeley and Harvard, and a San Francisco native. Mario now resides in Austin, Texas, with his wife and two daughters. And we're also joined by Armando Morales, a customer success manager for SizeUp. And prior to SizeUp, Armando has a total of 5 years experience working in city government, where he worked in both community and economic development. Most recently, he worked for the city of Lockhart, Texas, successfully recruiting targeted industries such as manufacturing companies. Armando is an alumnus of New Mexico State University, where he played Division I tennis and received his master's in applied geography. He now also calls El Paso, Texas home. Thank you both for joining us, and we're excited to see how you can show all these businesses how they can use SizeUp effectively.
Thank you so much, Regina. We're really excited to be with all of you today. One of the things that they mentioned is you guys are having an amazing attendance today. So you first staters have really signed up and showed up. So we're expecting this to be a very interactive session. So the quality of this presentation is going to be great, but if we get more detailed questions about you, your location, your business, we can fine tune it to make it even more meaningful to you. So I want to take you through a quick PowerPoint. I promise this is mainly live demonstration, but we want to provide a little bit of context before we get started. So normally what we do is a demo, but we're not going to do a demo today because a demo shows you what you can do, but we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to do a training today. So we're going to slow things down a little bit, and we invite you to kind of play along with us, or you can enter your own industry in your own location if you are interested in trying to do the analysis at the same time. You'll see something different. But what we're hoping is that we can take you through a use case all the way from beginning to end, as opposed to jumping around through different examples. So please do ask questions in the Q&A chat. And then when I'm presenting, Armando will be acting as our air traffic controller and responding to those questions. And then when he's presenting, I will be able to answer the questions. So we should be set to be able to respond to you anytime throughout the presentation. So one of the things that you see on the screen right now is the QR code and the URL shortcut for the application. So you can go there now if you want to do it interactively with us. If you want to watch, that's great. It's being recorded and you'll be able to rewatch it later. The other thing that we want to talk about is new to us in 2024 is the ability for you to book time directly with the customer success team at SizeUp on Wednesdays. So if you go to SizeUp info open houses, we're going to be meeting with up to 10 businesses every other Wednesday. So if you have additional questions or use cases or theories that you want to discuss with us, we'll be available to you via that URL that you see on your screen. So without any more housekeeping, let's talk a little bit about why what is happening on SizeUp matters to you. So these are formations on new business creation going back almost 2 decades. And what you're going to see here is there's a little dip here. This is the beginning of what we thought was a global pandemic and essentially an economy in free fall. What we actually have seen since then is a complete change of what expectations were. There are more new businesses being formed now than historically ever. And you can say, well, that's just the nation. What about the Northeast? What about Delaware? And you can see that even the lowest lows now are higher than the previous highest highs. More people are starting their own businesses, and this is a trend that we keep seeing. We thought maybe it would die, 2 or 3 years after COVID, but it continues to this day. Let's unpack why that matters so much. This is the historical 5-year failure rate for new businesses. And you're like, oh my goodness, after 5 years, about 50% are gone. That's true. But when we look at the details, it really changes the way that we understand what's happening. So you can see this little section here. These are businesses that die a natural death. That's the smaller portion. So those businesses are selling the wrong product at the wrong time, or their operating model doesn't make sense. They're selling fax machines when people move computers. They're trying to rent videotapes or DVDs when people have moved to streaming services. But about 2/3, and I'm rounding here, of businesses fail because they're not properly prepared. With the right data, they can make more optimal decisions about the number of people to hire, the salary that's necessary to power their business, the number of employees that they need to succeed, or the number of employees where their burn rate might be too high. And so providing businesses with better data to make more optimal decisions can change this 50% failure rate to just this little sliver there over the 5-year period. And that's what the state is invested in. It's invested in giving you the opportunity to have the data to make better decisions, and also to help you apply for loans and opportunities to engage in other programs that need qualified analysis in order to qualify. So let's talk about why an online business intelligence tool. So one, we all work very hard. But for a lot of people who are entrepreneurs or in their existing business, they're so busy working in their business, they don't have time to work on their business. So they tend to engage in this type of information either in evenings or weekends. And that's traditionally when traditional government offices aren't going to be open to help them, or services. So having an online tool allows you to access to it when you need, or even when you're on the go. It needs to be relatively simple to use. It's powerful, but relatively simple to use. We have a report creator so you can take the information and then export it into another tool. And then most importantly, this is the same big data that big businesses use. It's just that the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Starbucks, the McDonald's of the world, they just have business analysts, who are sitting in their back office doing this at their 6-figure salaries plus benefits. Or for really large companies, they'll go to the McKinseys and Deloittes of the world to help them, do this on an annual basis. Since small businesses don't have that money, it's really important to be able to be competitive from a data intelligence standpoint. And that's what SizeUp Delaware will do for you. We know that there's lots of you on this call, and so we know that you're in all sorts of different businesses. Everyone from home-based businesses to, commercial, industrial, retail, food service. It could be lots of things. It doesn't matter what business you're in, SizeUp can work for you. And it can work for you at whatever scale you're operating at. So if you're thinking about starting a restaurant and you have your grandmother's secret marinara recipe, that could be an Italian restaurant, or you could even say, hey, I'm gonna just put it on pizza. It can work at whatever level you want. So if you're in transportation, you can look at the entire automotive industry, or you can go to vehicle maintenance or even motor repair. So it doesn't matter what level you're operating at, SizeUp can work for you. It also doesn't matter what your market area is. So if you are a neighborhood bar and grill, you have hyper local data down to neighborhood level data. If you're exporting products to the 50 United States, guess what? You can scale on up your analysis to the national level. But it doesn't matter what industry you're in or how large your trade area is, SizeUp can work for you. And you're going to see that in 4 modules today. We're going to focus on 3 main ones, and then I'm going to come back in for the demographics. I'm going to take you through the benchmarking tool or the My Business ranking. This is going to give you objective information about how your business or your prospective business, in the case of an entrepreneur, would be performing against its industry peers. The second one is the competition tool, which will allow you to understand the entire ecosystem in which you're operating. So you can see your competitors, your suppliers, and your potential customers. You can use the tool for prospecting. And then lastly, in terms of the this core module is advertising. It will help you understand how you can allocate every penny to the most effective mode or area of advertising according to your specific market demands. And then the demographics tool gives you a lot of in-depth information. I'll come back for that, but Armando will be handling the competition and advertising tool. So I'm not going to go ahead and share this anymore, but we're going to go to a live demo at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a browser just like you would, and I'm going to go ahead and march myself on over to the SizeUp Delaware tool. So again, we've shared that information with you, so you can either watch or you can play along. For the purposes of this demonstration, to give you continuity in understanding, we're going to go ahead and try to identify an industry that we think most of you would be familiar with. So we're going to go ahead and look at a florist in Dover, Delaware. And I'm going to go ahead and click next. And what you're going to see at this point is you're going to see the 4 modules right in front of you. We're going to go ahead and go through them linearly, but you can actually choose whichever module you want to look for, depending on what it is that you are most interested in analyzing. Do you need to figure out where your customers are, or do you want to figure out how you're faring against your competitors, or do you want to identify neighborhoods that have a specific characteristic for you? In this case, let's go ahead and click on Measure Your Business Performance. So right here, this is the main screen. You can see the same tabs are here in the application as well, so you don't have to go to the chooser. The one thing I'm going to go ahead and point out is that if you have questions at any time, if you click this info button, you'll get a video that will walk you step by step through the tool. So don't be afraid of being lost. You can go ahead and watch the video and then step through the same situation. If you want to change your industry, right, you can go ahead and just click on that, and you can see that you can move to florist wholesale or nurseries or greenhouses or whatever. It'll find everything that matches your criteria. So you get the idea. I'm not going to go that specific and go into ornamental gardens or things of that nature, but we'll just do regular florists. And you can also change the location that you're operating in. So if you happen to be in Wilmington, you can just click the city name, and then you can select a different place. But let's stick with Dover for now. Not to play favorites, just because it's the city that I selected for this demo. So I want to pause there because we said this is going to be a training. So I wanted to give you time to see how you can interact with the tool. This is just the starting point. You can choose your industry. You can choose your location. You can modify it as you want. For those of you who are doing that, who are actually saying, I want to look at auto mechanics, somewhere else in Sussex County, for example, go ahead and do that. For those of you following along florists, we're going to go ahead and get started. So what you're going to see in front of you is the benchmarking tool. And you can see it's pretty empty right now. But by entering just a little bit of information, you're going to get immediate, super crunched millions of data points telling you how your business might be doing. I don't know anything about the florist industry, and this is very similar to a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in, I just feel like $2 million is a nice round number. So I'm going to put in $2 million. Wow, this is really interesting. You can see that $2 million is actually very, very good for the floral industry, about twice as much in annual revenue compared to what the typical florist is making in Dover. However, it changes. For Kent County, it's $1 million. And you can see in the state area, it's actually 1.1. Like, well, that's interesting. Where can I see that? In terms of those concentrations, how is that changing? So you can actually see the information here. So you can see up in the northern part, I'll zoom out a little bit. You can actually see the counties where people are making more money on floral, or florists are making more money or making less money. So you can see the areas that are making 1.5 to 1.6 where we might be more competitive, and areas in yellow where it's only about $500,000 to $800,000. as I mentioned to you, because this is a training, I want to show you something else. The application is going to follow the level of analysis that you're interested in. We've tried to make this very simple. Right now, we're looking at the county level. We zoomed in, we could see it at a higher granularity. If we zoom out, let's say that you're exporting. I'm going to keep zooming out here. Now you're going to see it at the state level. So now you can actually see states. If you happen to be a florist that's shipping, maybe you have specific bouquets that you make, or you make bouquets for specific things that no one else does. You have a competitive advantage. You're part of the FTD network, whatever it may be. You can actually see the areas that you are trading with, because maybe you're shipping to Indiana, or maybe you're shipping to Oklahoma. You just zoom out and then zoom in to the area that you're interested in, and the application will go ahead and follow you. So we now have that information. We can see it at the county level. We're zooming in. Now we're seeing it at the zip code level. So the map's going to follow what you're doing and then provide the type of analysis that you need. So right now we know something right now, which is we're doing really well for a florist. Now, this is a hypothetical situation, but let's go ahead and let's go along with it. $2 million. We're almost double what we're making in the city of Dover, and we're at the 90th percentile. This is what the gauge is telling you is your percentile rating. And if you haven't taken your standardized tests in a while, I'll just tell you to Google it, and you can understand what your percentile ranking means. We can also look at the overall trends within a business. So revenue is really important, but you might be entering as an entrepreneur an industry that might be dying. You could also enter an industry that might be growing. So we'll go ahead and say, hey, or you're an existing florist and you want to see what the overall trends are. And this is actually going to show you what the trends are. Now, maybe we're not interested in the United States. Maybe that's a little bit overkill. But we can actually see that 5 new florists open in Delaware, 2 in Dover, 2 in Kent County, 1 in the city of Dover. So you're seeing all the information on this chart. And this, obviously, there's some ups and downs here and even some flat years. But the important thing is you see that new businesses are still starting. If you went to something like movie and DVD rentals, you might see that line cascading all the way down from the left to the right, and you just realize that you need to switch to kind of a different industry. And you can look at it from a macro view, from the United States level, or you can even look at it at the city, state, whatever view you want. So this is really important to understand if the industry you're in is robust and it's thriving. We can also look at salary. Again, I don't know what the average blended rate is for a florist. So this is everything from the floral designer to the person working the cash register to the person working in the shipping. So I'm going to go ahead and put $30,000. We can see that's actually fairly, this is a comparable salary for this. It's actually a little bit above average. And then we can also figure out how many hours. And so this is the blended average. So I'm just slow down here. The blended average is showing you what it is in this industry. But if we're interested in specific positions, floral designers, right, we can actually look at individual salaries here. Maybe, we're looking at, we have a farm where we're actually growing that probably not usual for a florist, maybe a wholesaler. But the idea is you can go ahead and look up anything that you want: cashiers, floral designers, farm workers, whatever it is. You can actually find out individual salaries for a specific position as opposed to a blended rate across. We can also look at the number of employees. So we're making $2 million at this business. I'm going to also pick a round number. I'm going to say 10. So this is also very interesting. So while my revenue is higher, I'm also a larger florist. Why do you think 10 people is a small business? And I think we can all agree that 10 people seems like a small business. Through the lens of data, it's changing the way that you understand your floral business. You're actually a really large florist. You're almost twice the size of the average floral business, and you're paying your employees more than the average wage. And this is where we start to get very unique business information, because you're not cookie cutter. Your value proposition, your product, the way that you service things is not a franchise model, right? You have a unique value. And so we're going to start to see that cost effectiveness. So while you are making a lot of money, you're actually just below average. So you can still look at things within the tool to help you recruit more customers, possibly look at savings that you can look at. So you can see this information right here in terms of cost effectiveness, which is an analysis of your revenue, your workers, and salary to understand what the average business in your industry would be making per employee hour. We can look at revenue per capita and revenue by zip code. So we're seeing the areas that are spending more or less money. So you can contrast those to understand where areas where money's being spent and the people that are spending it. And we can look at local retention. So we can understand that within this industry, about 85% of the people should experience turnover. So that means for you that you should expect at the 10-person workforce about 1.5 people equivalent, FTE equivalent, to go away. So let's imagine that you were this 10-person company and you're losing 1 person per year, and that's frustration for you. You're losing 1/10 of your workforce. You have to recruit, retrain this person. And you may think that that really is a testament to a weakness in your business. But objectively, through the lens of data, you're keeping more than you should in terms of your talented workforce, your skilled workforce. We can also look at healthcare costs. So let's go ahead and say that we're paying, again, round number, $5,000 per employee. And we can actually see that the average for firms in similar industries is $6,952. So, your premiums are lower. Maybe you're really healthy because you're working with flowers all the time and your mood's good. But you can actually see what the averages would be. Let's say that you were spending, $9,000. You can see that you're actually 23% below average. And then this can prompt you, based on this analysis, to look for maybe healthcare insurance aggregators or other programs where you could, combine with other small businesses to achieve cost savings. And then lastly, we can look at workers' comp. I put $1 in, it's actually $1.34. And then we can go ahead and say summary view. So when you click on summary view, what happens is we've condensed all of the KPIs so you can see a dashboard of how you're performing against all of those critical factors. We could go ahead and click PDF and then export that business information as well. And then if we want to run scenarios, we could say, hey, I'm thinking about expanding. So maybe I'm going to go ahead and add, because my success is pretty good, maybe I'm going to add another 2 employees, but I'm expecting there to be an economy of scale. So maybe I get up to 2.5 million. And then what we'll see is the effect on our cost effectiveness. So before we were -1% in terms of cost, now we're in the second percentile in terms of cost effectiveness. So this is the first of the 4 tools you're going to see. This is the My Business or the benchmarking tool. It helps you understand objectively how your business would be performing against businesses in your industry, or if you're an entrepreneur, your prospective business plan. Would everything pencil out in terms of what your plans are to create a new and thriving business in Delaware? So Armando's going to take over now, and I'll be answering the Q&A, and he's going to take you through the competition and advertising sections. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mario. And I was monitoring the Q&A chat, and you guys had a great amount of questions. Not just great amount of questions, but the quality of those questions. And a lot of those I opted to answer live. We'll go ahead and save quite a few of them for the end, because they do require additional walkthrough in some of these. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Oop, Mario, if you could go ahead and release your share so I can go ahead and share. Thank you. Oops. All right. So I believe you guys are seeing my browser now. Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the florist example so we can stay consistent here. And then I believe we were also doing Dover as well. One of the things that I do want to point out, for those Spanish speakers, we do have this tool in Spanish as well. And this is not Google Translate. This is translated by a translator. So everything that's understood in English is understood in context in Spanish as well. So we can go ahead and continue with that. And as you can see, everything is translated. Now, this is the second module, your competition module where you'll be able to see your ecosystem. So who are your potential customers? See who your potential or your competition is. You know, are they big box stores? Are they mom pop shops? Are there clusters of them? And you can discover potential new suppliers. Now, one of the questions asked was if you can save the data. Now, while you can't save the data necessarily, what you can do in each of the module, whichever module is active at the time, this PDF button will be there. So if we go to the My Business module, same thing right there. Whatever input that you've clicked on during your session, you'll be able to export as a PDF and you'll be able to save it there. So you'll be able to save that data on your own computer by printing out a PDF. Now, I know there were quite a few more questions, and we will definitely get to them. Mario, one of those questions being, where does the data come from? And it'll definitely be better to answer that once we've seen a few of these modules. So I'm going to go ahead and continue right here with the competition module. I hope that you guys are still following along. If you guys still need that site, it is in the chat. It is sizeup.info/Delaware. So you can go directly to this tool and you can follow along and put your own inputs in. So right now we start off in the competition module, and there are three very important tabs over here. We've got your competitors tab, your customers tab, and your suppliers. Right now it starts off on your competitors tab, and it populates with all of the florists in the area that you've selected. So it not only shows on the map, but you have a results page over here, and you can click on each of these and get additional information. So right here, you can see we've got an info card that pops up, address, phone number, website if they have it. So you can go ahead and click on those and follow that website and see what their offerings are, what your competition is doing, where they're located, what their price points are, so that you can better align yourself up for the competition if you haven't started, or if you're currently a flower shop, you can see what you're competing against. So we click on another one, and we've got a different one that's you've also got social media out there, so you can see potentially a Facebook page for that. So I'm not logged in, but as you can see, their Facebook page pops up right away, so you can go ahead and see that and explore that. Now, if you think you're competing against more than just a florist, we can click on this tab right here, which is the industries tab, and you can add additional industries as opposed to just competing against florists. I know that sometimes in grocery stores or even convenience stores, they also have flowers, which you might want to enter here so that you can see what you potentially are competing against. And of course, we start typing in groceries and we get a whole host of other information as well, or other industries. But we're going to go ahead and click on grocery stores, and then the map will populate and the results will populate right here. My internet is a little bit slow today. We're having quite a bit of rainy weather, which is not normal for us, but we can go ahead and click on that industries tab again, and then we can add even more. Let's see, convenience stores. Perfect. And then of course it'll populate, and you can continue to search on each results page once they've loaded up. All right, so while that we're waiting for that to load, let's talk about the next tab, the customers tab. So here you'll be able to prospect potential new customers, and let's go ahead and click on that. And this starts off blank. There is not so we'll click on this industries tab here, and the reason it starts off blank is because who knows who your prospective customers are better than you, in this case, the florist. So this is a B2B customer search. As a florist, I'm going to look at various different types of potential businesses. And of course, each industry will be different. In this case, let's go ahead, and the things that come to mind are things like events, event planning, so special event services, maybe weddings. Let's see. So we start to do in wedding and reception sites, perfect, or wedding supplies retail stores. And then the map will start to populate here. And of course, there's many other industries that we could potentially look at. So we can always continue to add on here in the industries tab, and there is no limits to this. So let's go ahead and see, also start to type in birth. Not what we're looking for there. Let's see, nursing homes potentially, or weddings. Oh, we've already looked at weddings. Let's see, maybe hospitals as well. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and let that run and then see what our results are. Now, while we wait for those results, again, apologies for my slow internet connection at this point. I hope that I'm still with you all. If not, I hope that Mario is sending me a message online so that I can know. But right here, while we're waiting for that to load, you can also look at this consumer spending. So you can look at where your potential customers are, but also you can look at where people are already spending their hard-earned money. So you can look over here and you can start to look at a whole host of information of where people are already spending their money. We can start to type things in. And let's see. We can look at things like flowers. I guess I mistyped that. Gifts of plant and fresh flowers. That seems to make the most sense for what we're searching for. So if we click on that, then we'll get a heat map showing all the consumer expenditures happening at the block group level. And then we see this heat map here, so we can see where they're spending slightly more and where they're spending less. Let me go ahead and refresh real quick so we can get some of these results. All right, jumping back in there. All right, perfect. Just took a quick refresh, and now we're able to get a whole host of prospective clients, prospective customers. And just like before, you can get their info card and you can follow up with them, look at their social media, look at their website, contact information, and see if they are a viable customer for you. Now, the last but not least tab is the suppliers tab. And let me go ahead and take this map off so we declutter the map a little bit. If we click on this suppliers tab here, every business needs to get their supplies from somewhere, right? So we're going to go ahead and look into that. So flower shops, we're going to go ahead and look at flowers, nursery stocks, and florist supplies, wholesale. And it looks like we've got two categories there. So we can go ahead and click on both of those and see what else is out there. Now, of course, we're also potentially, we're also potentially a office. So maybe we need office supplies. So let's go ahead and look at potentially stationery and office supplies wholesale. And just like the other tabs, the map will populate. Again, apologies on my internet speed, but these will populate and show you exactly where these suppliers are, and then you'll be able to click on those info cards and be able to see those. Now, one thing that I do want to point out while we're waiting for this is the PDF that we told you about earlier. Is we go ahead and click on that, and then it will load with the information that we just entered, so you can have that information and save that for your record, so you can have that for later dates. So that was the competition module, being able to see who your potential or who your competitors are. Are they mom pop shops? Are they big box stores? Are there clusters of them? Being able to prospect potential customers and then discover potential new suppliers. Let me pause real quick and ask Mario if there are any questions related to this module that would be beneficial for us to answer at this point, or if I can go on with the advertising.
Yeah, we should move ahead with advertising. We have so many great questions. We want to make sure there's time for Q&A.
Yes, this is a great crowd. Thanks, Mario. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the advertising. Here in the advertising, everybody knows that they need to advertise, because if you don't tell people that you exist, well, nobody's going to be able to find you. So as a florist, if we're looking to advertise in any one particular place, the easiest thing that comes to mind are some of the businesses that we were looking at as potential customers. So one of the ones that we typed in was hospitals. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the hospital industry. I'm going to go ahead and stay in Dover here. And maybe I'm looking at, I want to center my approach on looking at potentially untapped markets. Now we can do we can look at various different approaches, and they're all right here. If we click this tab here, total annual revenue, revenue per capita, underserved markets, that's the one we're targeting now, average revenue, total employees, and household income. So depending on your approach and the industry that you're looking at, you can go ahead and click on one of these, and the results will go ahead and filter for you, and the map will show you exactly where those zip codes are. We'll be able to click either on the results page or the map itself and be able to get all of that information there so you can help make an optimized decision. Now, we see 4 results pop up here. We can do so much more. We can click on this filters tab right here, and we can filter additionally. So we can add more things like search distance. So if we think the 10, which is default, is not enough distance, then we can go ahead and extend our search, let's say 20 miles, or even 30, or even nationwide, depending on your industry and how far you want to be able to advertise to. Now, we have 2 different ways of filtering. We've got the demographics characteristics, and then we also have industry performance. Now, if we're sticking with our industry performance and looking for untapped markets, we'll go ahead and look at the revenue per capita over here, and we can move these bars over here from no preference all the way to maybe at most, let's say 500 per capita. Oops, let's see. Let's go ahead and extend that search distance. Looks like we got 1 result, maybe 30 miles. There we go. Now we've got 5 different results. So a couple of different zip codes to choose from that are all under 500 revenue per capita. And we can see the results here, and we see that some are in the next state over, which is another body of water over. Those might not be viable, but we can click on each one of these and get information on the 19709 zip code and then the 19933, which are to meet our criteria that we were looking for. And we can go about it in that approach and seeing where to advertise. Now, the other way we can go ahead and clear these is we can look at the demographics characteristics. Let's say we are still looking for maybe that revenue per capita, those untapped markets. We can go ahead and set our demographics or our household income to maybe at most 100,000, but we also want to make sure that they're spending at least half of that. So now again, we get 8 results here. Let's go ahead and take that look. Well, maybe not again, but this time we get 8 results instead of the 5 that we had previously. And now we can see that it's arranged by revenue per capita. And we can see what the results are, what is ranking higher on our list. And then we can go ahead and advertise in those potential zip codes. I hope you guys are still following along with me, being able to filter based on whatever is most relevant to you, whether it be total annual revenue, revenue per capita, underserved markets, average revenue, total employees, or household income, and then being able to filter further either by demographic characteristics or industry performance. That was the advertising module. I'd love to go through another example for you, but I know that you guys have a lot of great questions, and Mario still has to go through one more of the module before we start answering some of those questions. I know he's already answered quite a few in the Q&A chat. So with that, Mario, I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton back off to you.
Great. And I will go ahead and start sharing my screen here. So I was following along, and so you can see here's my floral competition map, and I can see where the florists are in red. I can see where potential customers are in green. And then I can also see information about suppliers in blue. And so we also went to the advertising, and now we're going to head to the demographics module. So this actually gets to some of the questions that we're asked in Q&A in terms of how you analyze your specific area. So there's lots of different ways to do this. One is, you've seen this in reports, right? This is what the metro area is going to be. This is going to be, oops, sorry about that. I hit a keyboard shortcut here. And actually, in this case, because I'm using the demographics tool, it doesn't matter. So you can see the analysis by city, county, metropolitan area, whatever it is that you want to do. A more interesting way to think about this, though, is around a specific address, which was some of the questions that you guys were asking. So you can see we can type in any address. I'm wondering, here we go. Why don't we go ahead and take the Wilmington office for the state of Delaware as the analysis, the address that we want to do. So here's 820 North French Street in Wilmington, Delaware. And we can do site-specific analysis. So this isn't generic analysis like I was showing you, where we're looking at a city or a county or a metro area. We're actually looking at it for this specific location. Maybe we think our trade area is about 10 miles. We can go ahead and click Create. You can see here where you can adjust the miles. And we're going to see information for that specific 10 miles. We zoom out, we can actually see, so we've crossed into Pennsylvania. You get the idea. You can see all of the areas, the geography that is involved in that 10 miles. That's one way to think about this. So this is a demographic overview. So if you were trying to look at these categories like male, female, if you owned a women's clothing store, you might be interested in the gender variations within a geography. If it was selling to 20 to 29-year-olds who are entering the workforce, if you have specific ethnicities you're targeting, income levels, you can do that all demographics. Now, radius is great, especially if you're doing like mass transit or other forms of transportation, but a lot of people drive in their cars. So you can actually see where you can switch between miles and minutes here. Here's minutes. I can do 20 minutes from this location. And instead, I want to look at a consumer expenditure analysis. I'll go ahead and click Create. And now, instead of that perfect ring report, you're actually going to go ahead and see this is where you can get to within a 20-minute drive time. And these are consumer expenditures. Again, we can look at the heat maps right now. I'm not going to, because I want to make sure we have enough time for Q&A, but I will show one example of heat maps. There's another way of doing that, which is if you know your trade area, you can actually create a polygon and then do the analysis just for this specific polygon. It just depends on what you are interested in. Now, I promised you we were going to do a different type of analysis here. I'm going to go ahead and do a labor force analysis. And we're going to we're zooming right into the Waffle House. And let's say that we really wanted to understand where we were going to either target, because we're targeting a specific type of business, or where we need to recruit employees, for instance. We can actually look at all of the industries here by business, or we can actually look at the employees for those businesses. It just depends on what we're doing. So these are employees. If I wanted to know where construction employees are, I could turn this on, right? In our case, maybe what we're really interested in, because we're a florist, is we're looking for, we're trying to do analysis on Secretary's Day, right? And so we'll look at executive managers and administrators, and we can actually see concentrations of where those people are. Or, as I mentioned, let's go ahead and do a different type of analysis now. Let's go to, what should we go to? I'm trying to think of an interesting, let's go back to our address. And let's do a demographic overview of around 10 miles. And let's go to the example that we had. Let's say that we know that grandparents love receiving flowers, and we want to identify where they are so we can advertise in those areas. They're more likely to receive and send flowers. You're going to see this information. You notice that it's happening at the zip code level. So we can see concentrations of where people, 18.48% of the population within this 10-mile radius are. But but I want to, this is great, but zip code's not what I'm targeting. I'm a neighborhood florist. So we wanted to take you through an example. Now, if I'm a neighborhood florist, I'm going to zoom in. And now you can see I'm getting information at the census block group level. I'm getting neighborhood information. So I know that in this area, there's around 299 to 743 people who are over 65. I can also look at it as a percentage. So sometimes you want to look at aggregate number, just where's the highest number, or maybe you want to look at where the greatest density of them are by group. So you can see if we switch to percentage, now we're seeing that in these areas, not only is there a high number, it's 28 to 45% of the people in this area are over 45. Whereas if we look here near Quaker Hill, while there may be a higher number, the percentage is lower. So you can do the analysis either way. Aggregate numbers or totals. And this is true across lots of different types of analysis. If we were doing consumer expenditures, because we're trying to start a restaurant, for example, maybe what we're really interested in is food away from home. So we can go ahead and load that. And now we're seeing that $2.7 to $6.9 million are spent in some of these areas. However, if we go to percentages, you can see the areas or the average household spending on food away from home. So maybe you want to target the area where the people live, or maybe you want to target the areas that are receiving that revenue. You can do the analysis based on whatever really kind of targets your specific use case, business plan, marketing plan, whatever it may be. So that is the demographic tool. It is perhaps the most powerful tool within the toolkit, but it also, unlike the others where it's a little bit more linear, it requires a little bit of interpretation or thought about how you want to use the tool. So this is an example of how you can use those tools. Sometimes you can actually cross-reference the tools. We don't have enough time to get into that, but please do attend our open house if you're interested in it. And what you could do is you could say, hey, this is really interesting. Here's food and beverages away from home. And you might want to then go into the competition tool, change your industry to restaurants. And then you'd go ahead and, look at restaurants and understand the restaurants that are in that area. So lots of different things that you can do with the tool. But we have a lot of Q&A, and I think we need to get to it, Armando. So I think the first one is a question about the data. And so this will affect a lot of answers. So let me get back to the PowerPoint, I hope, and see if I can share that information. Looks to me like I'm just when you think Zoom's going to participate, it's not letting me share my full screen. Let me restart PowerPoint just really quickly. And then I'll start the sharing function again, and hopefully Zoom will like that. I guess I had to stop sharing before I could reshare. So you should be seeing my PowerPoint right now, and we'll talk a little bit about data. We have hundreds of different data sets. Not all of them are viewable. We have millions of data points that we crunch together. So we really want to talk about this in terms of buckets. So the way that we kind of conceive of our data that you're probably most interested in are the industry data, the demographic data, and the geographic data. So the industry data comes from hundreds of different, this is what we call firmographic data. So this is the information about the businesses, where they are, revenue, employees, all of this stuff. Hundreds of different sources. It depends on the industry that you're in, right? If you're an attorney, you have to pass the bar exam. If you're a CPA, you have to, get your CPA license. Restaurants may or may be insured, depending on the, whether they're delivery. You get the idea. It just depends on the state and the location and lots of different things. That information is updated every quarter. But it's about 3 to 6 months in arrears. So the information could be anywhere from 3 to 9 months in arrears, but we try to keep it updated as we can. It just depends on kind of whether you're a public business, a private business. It really varies. The demographic information comes from a variety of sources. So for instance, salary information comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They just changed their acronym and name. It used to be like the Office of Salary and Workforce, and now it's something else. But it comes from the Census Bureau. It comes from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the IRS, all of that information. We also have commercial data providers where we crunch that data together to give you a more accurate statistical model. That information, consumer expenditures, which, Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, the credit card companies know more about how we spend our money than we do, gets updated every 6 months. And then the demographic and business and workforce, that information gets projected 5 years out and is about 6 months behind current date. And then the geographic information, we use Google Maps as our base layer, and then we overlay that information with the heat maps and the government information that you see. So hopefully that answers the question about where the data comes from and how frequently it's updated. We are working on some new tools to allow you, if you are a new business, to get listed sooner than later. And then we partner with all the major national data vendors, the same ones that Google Maps uses as a base layer, or Yelp or others. So hopefully that will help you get your business up sooner than later. Armando, were there other questions that came in during my demographics that we need to talk about, or should we go to the list?
We can go to the list, but the majority of the list were all centered around being a unique business or doing or looking at businesses specifically online or different form of outsourcing. And for a lot of these, I would recommend that you sign up for our office hours. Looks like Mario is going to take you through some of that
Sure.
right now. However, I do want to let you know, Mario, we might want to reserve the last maybe 4 or 5 minutes because there were questions about the Edge application that I think Regina and Andrea might want to answer.
So we're going to go through this really quickly. I don't know if I'll be able to demo all of them on the tool, but we will do it. So there's a unique business that has multiple kind of aspects to it. So a gas station with restaurants and everything else. And in this case, this is great because SizeUp is all you can eat, to extend the metaphor. So you can look at gas stations and see the gas stations are making 1.3 million, and maybe that you have a hamburger restaurant attached to that gas station. I live in Texas where we have this company called Buc-ee's. So not only would you have a hamburger or hot dog stand there, you also would have a clothing or apparel store, right? And so you can actually just switch from industry to industry to create kind of a blend of the analysis that you're looking for. And you can compare that information, for instance, with the number of employees to understand if your targeted business is larger or smaller than what would be typical for a business of that size. So if you're a clothing store, a family clothing store, you're looking at an average of 14 employees. So with your blended model, you can just look at multiple different aspects of that. And it's the same thing. If you're a gas station, you can actually map all of those gas stations. We're going to show them to you, but you could also map restaurants. You can add or subtract as many industries as you want that creates kind of that unique aspect of the type of business that you're pursuing. Not having a physical business location, you could go ahead and just type in an address or any address in the tool, and then you can do demographic analysis based on wherever you think you're interested in. In terms of the map, you can move the map anywhere you want. If you're like, oh, I'm selling out to, boy, I don't even know where this is. There we go. We're near Susquehanna County. You get the idea. You can move the map to wherever you want to do analysis where you want. And I think we're at about 5 minutes in. So I think we need to turn this back over to the first state team so they can answer questions about Edge. And then Armando and I will type answers as quickly as we can. And then we will go ahead and invite you to our open house so we can give you kind of that one-on-one information that you needed. Thank you so much for your great questions today, and look forward to the next time.
Great, thank you, Mario. Thank you, Armando. There were 2 questions, or maybe 3, that I saw in the chat related to Edge. So I did go ahead and answer most of those already. There is one that just popped in Does the Edge Grant application require that the business is already up and running, or can it be used for startup funding? Regina?
It can be used for startup funding. It does not require that the business be up and running.
And if you're interested in seeing the informational webinar from yesterday, it is on our webpage, de.gov/edge. We encourage people who have questions specifically about Edge to contact a regional business manager, which is a business manager for your county. Those, the contact information for those business managers is listed on the page, de.gov/edge. All right. Do we want to go to the list of
Well,
questions?
Yeah, if we have time, there's so many, and I think a lot of them are centered around online business or businesses that don't have a physical plant, if you will, in Delaware. And the thing is, while your location may not be a retail storefront, there's still the real world that you're operating in. So I can't say specifically what you're doing, and it'd be helpful if we understood the industry that you're in. But I'll talk about a real world. Let me go ahead and clean this map up a little bit. I'm going to get rid of all of the other categories here. So one of the things that we saw during the pandemic was a lot of at-home businesses, and they specifically were marketing on, Etsy, eBay, and things of that nature. Well, one of the things that you can do beyond identifying where your competition is understanding the market that are available to you. And if you're in an online marketplace, well, I got news for you. Who cares about distance? Let's go national. So if we slide this all the way over to the right, we're going to get a list of where jewelry designers are making money. This is total annual revenue. Since you're an online business, of course, look at what we're seeing here, right? It's Los Angeles, it's New York, it's Chicago. Why don't we think about this from a different perspective? Why don't we look at underserved markets? So these are areas that are spending and want to spend money on jewelry, but they're underserved. They don't have a Tiffany's or a Bulgari or whatever in their area, and maybe they don't have the household income that we'd expect. So maybe we talk about like going up. Oh, I want to target rich people, but maybe we want to target people who have less disposable income, maybe at most $50,000. Now look what's happening to the analysis. We went from 5,000 zip codes to 509. And we could say, hey, I'm not just looking at household incomes at most 50,000. I'm looking for households with a median age, right? This is, people who are buying things for themselves or their kids. So between 8 and 50. And, we can even narrow down. Now we're at 402. Now we went from looking at where's the most money in the jewelry design business to these are the underserved markets. These are areas that want to buy jewelry. They'll buy it on Etsy, on eBay, I can't think of all the other ones. I wish my wife was here. Poshmark, whatever it is, Milwaukee. So you can take this information for your online business and understand where you're trying to market. More than that, you're not just limited to B2C or B2C business to consumer. You can do the same thing for industries. So let's say that you were in the construction industry and you build custom cabinets or something. We could actually look for a category. Let's say you're selling custom cabinets to single family home construction. We can say, hey, I'm not going to sell to like KB Homes or Lennar or Cal Atlantic or these big ones. But what I would like to focus on is our small boutique home builders with at most 10 employees that only have a total annual revenue of at most $50 million. And now you can actually look and see that you'd want to sell your custom cabinets that you're making in Delaware to custom home builders in Jonesboro, Louisiana, Burton, Michigan, or Sumdale, New Jersey. So even if you're an online business, understanding the markets for your online business, depending on the product or service that you're operating, is possible here. And it's frankly the same thing with like consumer expenditures. Let's say that you were an online personal trainer. You might want to look at consumer expenditures. Oh, of course, I have to fill in an address if I'm going to do that analysis. And I know we're late, but I think this is a great question, so I hope you'll bear with me. And then we could go ahead and look at healthcare or healthcare services. And you can see we're seeing it by block group, but I can zoom out. I'm going to get it by county. And now I'm going to get it by state, right? And so now I understand the places where I can market my online gym, clinic, stretching, yoga, whatever, food consultation, cooking classes. And I can see that Texas is spending a lot of money, or I can look at it as average household expenditures and say, while Texas may be spending a lot, it's an aggregate because it's a big state. However, Colorado is where people are investing more per capita. So you get the idea of how you can use the tool. These are phenomenal questions, and I really, the participation has been amazing. And so that's why we have started our open house and office hours for you. And we hope that you're able to join so that we can give all of your great questions the attention they deserve. And thank you for sticking with us a little bit after time. Back to you, Regina.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mario and Armando, for spending so much time with us this morning and going through in such detail. And just encourage everybody to sign up for that open house and office hours. That's such a great resource that's new this round, and I think will be really helpful. And again, this webinar and yesterday's webinar will be up on our website at de.gov/edge. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your regional business manager. That contact information is also available on our website. Andrea, anything?
Yeah, my one last request of the Texas team was to please add the link in the chat or pull it up on the PowerPoint slides for how you can access the information for office hours. I think that's right there on the screen.
Yes,
And Armando has it on the screen.
Yes. So I have it right here pulled up. It is sizeup.info/open house.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you all so much. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.